initial lesson with a young cocker that we bred, and he lives about an hour away. He lives in a town environment, so we're going to give the owners some tips and pointers and things to get him going as a great little dog. My name's Charlie Thorburn. Welcome to Mordor Gun Dogs. Let's go and see little Harris and see how he's getting on. So this is a little puppy that we've bred. Now in our calendar, he's called Mini Groot because we had an older sister of his who was called Groot.
Okay.
So what have you called him?
Harris.
Harris.
Yeah.
So he's little Harris. So Harris is probably, 6 months old now?
6 months, yes.
6 months old. Little working cocker that we bred. His mum's Kimmy and his dad is Trio. Hello, handsome little dog. And he's just going to be a family dog, kind of pet that you want him to behave, isn't he?
Absolutely.
So what have you been doing with him? You've had him for 6 weeks? 5 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah. So basically, he's fully house trained and toilet trained.
Yep.
Terms. He's sleeping in his crate all night.
Yep.
He goes into his crate through the day, once or twice. When I'm in the house or if I go out. I've been taking him on this length of lead and allowing him to have a free walk, kind of to sniff around, to get used to his environment where I live. I've been doing some recall work with him, with some treats, just getting him to
on the lead or
always on the lead.
So just calling him back from there, just getting him in the hang of coming back to his name.
I've got a longer lead sometimes if I'm in a field, and then I just get him to come back.
But you're always holding the lead like that?
I'm always holding a lead, yeah.
Okay. So you haven't let him off at all?
No.
And lack of confidence from you, or what's your reasoning for you haven't let him off?
I've not let him off yet because I don't think we're there yet. You know.
Okay. What do you think is going to go wrong?
Probably distracted by other dogs being there, or
because you're in an area where there's lots and lots of people.
Yes, it's quite grassy, and people are out walking their dogs. There's cyclists, there's children, there's people going about, and it's all quite new to him.
Okay.
You know, so he had some anxieties with the motorbikes and push bikes and whatnot. So we've kind of got round that by kind of distraction with a little bit of fetch with some food in the grass, or playing with his ball.
Okay.
So he's getting much more confident around those things.
Okay, fine. Sounds good. So you haven't done any kind of heel work or anything like that? You're just allowing him to...
A little bit by just keeping my fingers down here with a little kind of bit of treat and then walking along.
Okay, but then you're allowing him to have free rein on the lead, but then you're saying to heel to him?
I'll call him back.
Okay, but just with the lead on the harness in exactly the same way as it is now? No kind of change in...
I change direction.
No, but I mean as in he goes from being on the lead like he is now pulling, and then you're telling him to heel the next minute.
Once he goes along and he gets to the end of the lead and it's pulling a bit, sometimes I stop.
Okay.
And then he just turns to me and I'll say good boy, and then it goes slack and we walk on a little bit again. Other times I just come and I ask them to come round by my side.
Okay. Do you want to just show me that?
Where you going, Mum?
I usually have treats, but I forgot my treat bag.
Okay.
Right. Okay, Paris. Come. In close. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Paris. Heel. Paris. Heel.
Okay. So your body language and everything is great. You're sort of there. You're paying attention to him. You're encouraging him. There's a few things. The first thing is I absolutely have a phobia against harnesses.
I know.
The reason being is that you're just giving the dog its whole body language, the whole ability to pull.
Yeah.
So he's just got his whole sort of shoulder weight. So what I was getting at when I said when you go from having him out in front of you to having him at heel, do you change anything? Do you clip the lead onto a normal collar or anything else? That's what I was kind of...
No, sometimes when I'm doing a bit training work, I clip it onto the front.
Okay.
The front kind of clip, just to kind of keep him close by. And
yeah,
he
sure, okay.
Can't stray too much.
So it's an interesting one because obviously not everybody lives in a place like this, and you are surrounded by lots and lots of people, and you're worried about letting him off, and I can see why, because if he'd been off there, you'd have lost control of him. What you've got to look at it from the dog's point of view is you've got to look at it as 1 minute he's been doing one thing and then 1 minute he's doing the next thing. And he doesn't see that there's a clear kind of divide. Okay, when you're driving your car and you drive from a 30 mile an hour zone into a 60, you can read the sign and you know that that's very clear that now you're allowed to do 60.
Yes.
Okay, and if a policeman pulled you over and were like, "Why are you doing 60?" You're like, "Because I went through a sign back there that said it was a 60, so I'm allowed to." If he suddenly was like, "Oh yeah, but it's a Tuesday, so you're not allowed to do that," and you'd kind of be like, "But no one told me," he'd be like, "I don't care." And you would, that's completely irrational. So then you would either go one way or the other with that. You would either be the person, me, that I would just go to the police and I would carry on doing 60 and say, "What a stupid rule, I'm not going to abide by it." Or you would be the, "Oh God, I don't want to break the law, so I'll just go at 30 just in case." And that's just a personality thing. Cocker Spaniels generally are like me.
Right.
They're generally like, "Oh, if in doubt, I'll just pull. If in doubt, I'll go, rather. I'll speed. So if in doubt, I'll pull." So basically what he's learning is when mum's there paying attention to me and it's the best option at the time, I will trot along at her heel like a nice little dog. But as soon as there's another dog or there's a smell or there's something else going on, I'll just do what I like.
Sure.
Because to him, there isn't a kind of obvious, this is free time, this is heel time.
Yes.
Because the setup,
Always the same.
the setup is exactly the same. So he's being allowed to pull like now on the lead unless you're there focusing on him.
Yes.
And that to a dog, there's no consistency and there's no logic to that. So he's walking to heel for you because you've got his attention, but he's walking to heel, "Oh, there's mum, oh, there's a dog." And then he's off because he doesn't see that there's any boundaries or any change. And that's the kind of, that's the pitfall that's the problem you're heading for. Because when you're getting him to walk to heel, you're absolutely doing it right. You're there, your body language. Yeah, you're using treats, which I would just be using myself as encouragement. But essentially, I don't really care about that because you're getting him to do it the right way and you're engaging with him and you're walking him along, okay? And he did it really nicely and then he saw Ash, okay? And he went to full extent on the lead. He forgot about you. He forgot about the treats. Yeah. And he didn't get anything. There was no reason telling him that now wasn't allowed. Yeah. So he was trotting along here. Good look. "Oh, mummy, 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 I love you. Oh, there's a dog." 2 fingers to mum, I'm off. Now that's young dogs. That's kind of the thing. That's the sort of thing that happens. When he did it, you just then stood there. Okay? You didn't react at all. You didn't give him a correct on the lead. You didn't try and encourage him back. You didn't try and prevent it happening. You just allowed him to go. Yeah. And you were slightly like, "Oh, what do I do now?" kind of thing. And that's the bit that's going to go. That's the bit that's going to go wrong with this. 1 minute he's allowed out free. The next minute you're asking him to walk to heel. I'm just seeing the hole in my jumper. I'm hoping to get enough subscriptions on YouTube that I can buy myself a new jumper. He's not seeing that one's right and one's wrong because you're not showing him that one's right and one's wrong. Does that make sense? What we've done with people in the past is people who don't have the confidence to let the dog off because of the environment is you could almost have kind of like you could almost have a sort of a scenario where this is his kind of your way of getting him to have a bit of freedom. What I would tend to do is probably use the longer one, and I would try to never have any pressure on it. Okay, so I would try and have it loose, okay? But then if I feel like I'm going to lose him, I can get hold of it. Come on, little man, Harris. Okay, but I'm Harris. But there's not like a constant tension on it. He's running off, Harris. And it's just a short, sharp stopping him going any further. What's really going to get you in trouble is if you allow him to be tight on that, okay, all the time or on a regular basis, because he's just going to get used to that feeling and he's going to think that's acceptable, okay? Whereas by having it loose and then we just stop him, Harris, good boy, come on then, Harris, good boy. Now you can see why using the longer one is going to be easier, because you're going to give Harris, Harris, come here, you're going to give him a bit more flexibility and a bit more freedom and not be like he's only allowed 3 feet from you and then you're getting on his case again. And then what I would then do is as a separate drill, I would put a slip lead on him, personally, or a normal collar and a lead, but I would just use a slip lead because that's kind of easy for you just to pull out your pocket. Okay, so I would then put the slip lead on him. Okay, and then heel. So that's like a different sensation, okay? So it's a completely different feeling, and then you're not undermining your own rules. You're saying to him, right, whenever you've got that slip lead on, it's loose all the time,
right.
Okay? So then you're never finding yourself standing around holding this where there's any tension in it. It's just the slip lead goes on, heel, 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 and he's walking really nicely. I can see you've done, straight away you were doing the right thing. You're walking along exactly the same as me, kind of saying good boy and telling him to heel, and he kind of knows what to do. But you're confusing him because it's not like the lights on, the lights off. It's like you know, the nighttime in Alaska in the summer. It's like, is it the nighttime? Like it's broad daylight. He doesn't understand, okay? Yep. So by having two different sort of setups for him, then you're creating a kind of, this is your heel work, and that's your off lead work, with a view that as soon as possible that goes in the bin. Okay, but I do understand, and I do understand this kind of quandary that people are in, where, like, you know, you walk out your door and there's just people and there's dogs everywhere, and it's just not practical to have the dog completely off. Sit. And then you would do a little bit of heel work, and then, come on, Harris. And then just let him be off, okay? So you've just got to be quick off the mark, that if he's just trailing his long line, you've got to be quick off the mark, that if he's not listening, Harris. Come on then, Harris. Harris. Good boy, come here. Come here. Good boy. Good boy. So this lead is only tight for a quick second, like the slip lead, but it's just there as your backup for when you want him to have some free time. Okay? Yeah. Now what I'm doing, Harris, is just before he goes, Harris, come here. What I'm doing is just before he goes tight on that line, is I'm calling him. So that if he ignores me, which he has done most of the time, Harris, that's the consequence, okay? Harris, come here. Sit. Sit. Boy. Sit. And then we alternate he's done a little bit of heel work with me. He then got a little bit of free time with a few recalls, and then heel, 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 sit, heel, 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 sit. Good boy. What a good boy. What a good boy. Off you go. And then we give him a bit of freedom again. So it's lots of little, teeny little lessons, because he's got a teeny little concentration span. Yeah. Okay? And we'll just walk out of the yard. Now, we would also still be doing the kind of escape and evade sort of tactics where we try and lose him. So just come. So we know he's in a completely safe environment in there. There's nothing go wrong. He's completely oblivious to the fact that we've left. Okay? And in a second, he's probably going to... Come on. Good boy. Come on. Come on. Good boy. So it felt like quite a long time. Yeah. You know, it's like when people's like, oh, my dog ran off. And I'm like, how long? They're like, oh, it felt like ages. It probably wasn't that long, yeah. But it's just like, oh my God, he's not listening, he's not listening. So he's in there. What we've got here is, you've obviously done a good job. He was scared of his bicycles and the motorbike, yeah, or whatever it was. You've done a good job of getting him over that, but you've almost made him too confident. Right. And he's now like, oh yeah, Mum, I don't need you, I can take on the world. So he's in there not really caring that you're out of sight. Yeah. So you almost need to kind of then start to think, God, am I creating a monster? So you want a happy, confident dog,
Yep.
but you don't want them too confident, because too confident, they don't need you anymore. So I would be concentrating on now, like almost not reversing what you've done, but
Yes.
making sure that he's not getting too much confidence on his own and he still needs you. So I would be trying to like get away from him, get out of sight more, okay?
Right, okay.
So it's harder to do when there's 4 of you, but what I would do if it was just me and him out here, I would put him down. The moment I put him down, I would be running off to that bench and going round the corner. So he's seeing me go and he's thinking, oh, I need to go. And one, it looks fun
Yeah.
to chase me, but also he's kind of like, oh, we're going this way, are you? I'm taking the lead.
Yeah.
I don't mean literally the lead. I mean, I'm taking charge. I'm going ahead. Whereas what he's like, yeah, fine. I'm just cruising around doing my own thing because I know that mum's going to wait for me. Does that make
It
sense?
does actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that balance, because we don't want a dog who's scared of its own shadow,
No.
but we don't want a dog who's just like 200 yards away, oblivious to where you are, couldn't give a monkeys, because they're like, yeah, well, you've shown me that there's nothing to be scared of. I can do this all on my own. And often the way we sort of describe kind of dogs, puppies growing up and things, and the stage we want them to get to is, we want them to become like an 8-year-old kid, okay? Because a 4 or 5-year-old kid's a bit needy
Annoying.
and a bit annoying, but a teenager wants you to piss off and just wants your credit card, okay? Whereas that 8-year-old's like, Mum, look at this. Mum, where are you going? Mum, can I come with you? Dad, what are we doing? Dad, can I go with you? They're not like, yeah, I don't need you, I'm off for hours. You know, they're kind of annoying, school holidays, and they're kind of there hanging around like a bad smell, okay? Because they're kind of wanting you to engage with them, wanting you to do things with them. But if we engage with them and we do things with them, we keep them wanting to do that with us because it's fun.
Yeah.
If we kind of turf them out on the streets and let them fend for themselves, they very quickly become feral and they don't need you at all. And that's kind of where you've got to be. You're not there, he's not like that, but that's where you've got to be careful that you don't get to with this guy, is that you don't give him so much confidence that he becomes like a slightly feral street kid who's like, yeah, Mum, whatever, I've got this. I'll see you at 6 o'clock tonight when I need my food. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and the some of the little things that I'm seeing from him are, one, in the yard there, he was just cruising, kind of quite happy. Now, we left him because we knew he was safe,
Yes.
which obviously is harder to do in your environment, which is why you've got to make a more concerted effort to run away from him.
Yeah.
So as you put him down, there might be someone over there, but you're going like the clappers that way. So he's he's not even got time to worry about the Ash equivalent or the Ian or whatever over there, because he's too busy. Whereas he's too busy thinking about you going this way. Whereas if you put him down here and he's like, oh, look, there's someone there, and then you try and do it, you've already lost him.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm getting from him is I'm holding him here, and he's squirming and worming because he wants to get down because he doesn't want to be here. And I'm making a point of holding on to him because I'm showing him it's not his decision. Okay?
Yeah.
I've decided to pick him up, and until he goes, then I'm not going to put him down.
Yeah.
So the more he squirms, the more I hold on to him, and the calmer he gets, the quicker I put him down. So as I put him down, come on then, Harris. Boy, good boy, Harris. Come on then. So that's how I'm, like, when he's off, that's how I'm kind of keeping him engaged. But do you see, as soon as I stop engaging with him, I start talking to you, he's like, oh yeah, whatever, and he's off again. He's off doing his own thing because he's becoming kind of, hey, Harris, come here. He's becoming a little bit self-centered, if I'm honest. Like, in the easiest way to describe it in terms of humans, he's a bit like, yeah, whatever. Well, you're not talking to me, it's not here and now, so I'm off to do my own thing. And we're all bad at it, like, these days.
Yeah.
You know, the moment something's not engaging, we all pick up our phones and start doing our own thing. And that's basically what he's doing there. He's like, oh, this is fun, we're running up and down the lawn. Oh, now you're talking to them again. Oh, bugger it, I'm off. And it just happens like that.
It does.
And you've got to be so on the ball, which is why, you know, which is why in your environment I'll kind of very, very gut-wrenchingly difficult for me, but I will accept that he needs to have some form of something attached to him because you haven't got that undevoting attention from him because he's become a bit too confident. But you know, so it's just that. All of dog training is, we're always teetering on a balance of like everything we do. It's like you do too much on the lead and then when they get off the lead they go bananas. You do too much off the lead and then they don't want to be on the lead. You do too much kind of confidence building, they become too confident. You don't do enough confidence building and they're not confident enough. And it's like it's really hard to get it right. And I mean we don't get it right. Like we're always like, oh, that dog needs a bit more of this, and we know how to fix it, but we are having to fix these things all the time because we're like, oh, that dog's too confident, we need to rein her back in, that dog's not confident enough, we need to get her out and about more. I mean, we've just sent a dog off with one of the people who helps us on a weekend. She runs a vet practice during the week, and we've got a slightly shy Labrador who's a red Labrador girl, and she's gone and she's spending 2-3 weeks going to the vet practice every day because it's just going to do her the power of good, like with loads of people, loads of dogs, loads of things coming and going. A situation we just can't recreate here. So she sits in the vet practice behind the desk, endless people coming and going, endless dogs, endless things going on, and there's nowhere for her to go and hide. There's nowhere for her to avoid it, so she has to kind of get over it. Now the worry with that is the dog then becomes, she won't because the type of dog she is, but the worry with that is if you did that with a dog like him, become too confident and just think everyone was there for their own amusement sort of thing. So it's just constantly seeing that balance, and at the moment you've very much been on the get him over his lack of confidence things. And now you need to be like, right, well, there is probably things you still need to do with that. There's probably like, I don't know, a fire truck will go past and he'll not like the siren and you'll need to work on that. But then at the same time, you'd be thinking, yeah, but every other situation he's too confident. Does that make sense? Absolutely. So that's kind of where you've got to be thinking with him at the moment. And then when he's on his lead like this, it's just loose all the time and he's standing there. And the moment he goes to pull, we give him a few wee corrections and we stop that happening. Obviously we can't expect him to stand around on a slip lead for hours because he's not been trained to do it yet. But we would build that up gradually, and then when he's not on the slip lead, he's got a line trailing behind him so that you can stand on it, but you're not holding on to it because then he's got pressure and he's learning to pull against that pressure, and he's learning the more he pulls against the pressure, the more he's likely to get away with it.
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
No, that's good. I'll be dropping that slip line and standing on it and running out.
And just that kind of, when you see him, to create that kind of negative of him breaking like towards Ash with another dog or Ian, you know, you stand on that line and he's going and you call him, and if he decides 2 fingers to you, I'm not going to listen, there's a consequence to it. But as soon as the consequence is over, you're then there going, good boy, come back to me. So he's like, right, I either go and ignore mum and I don't get there anyway and I get a sharp correction on the lead, so I have to go back anyway, or I'll just start listening to mum better. So it's kind of, you win either way, because you've set him up that he can only succeed. You see what I mean? If, however, that long line was from here to that red car and he ran for Ian, then you lose because he runs to Ian, he jumps up, he has great fun over there, and you're standing on the lead, but you haven't stood on the right bit of the lead, and he's got, what you need him to do is to get the edge of the grass and stop. Does that make sense? So you need to be like, oh, I'll just stand on that bit of the lead. You need to be quite on the ball so that he doesn't get the reward, because the reward is, I'm seeing Ian, I'm seeing Ash, I'm seeing that other dog. But if he stops short of that, he's like, right, I got a correction and I didn't get a positive. Oh, well, that's a waste of time. Now, he's a cocker, so he's an eternal optimist. They're little boys with ADHD. They're optimistic. They're ready to go. So it's not going to be like one correction. Oh, yeah, well, I did that. Yeah, you've got to do it 100 times. You've got to do it 150 times. You've got to do it 300 times. So I see Ash coming now. I know he's going to pull on the lead. Not only am I standing on that, but I'm also ready correcting him on the lead, okay? And I'm watching him. I'm not watching Pot. I'm not watching Ash. I'm watching this guy. And he showed, with a little bit of help from me, self-control. Now, if I hadn't done that correcting, which is just, you know, gentle kind of like that, then he'd have gone, and then he'd have been like yanking on the lead and flipping over backwards because I'm standing on this end, and the whole thing would have blown out of proportion. But by looking after the little dog pennies, that little correction, it stopped it turning into anything bigger. And that's the sort of, that's the way you've got to look at all these things, rather than wait till it goes wrong and go, how do I correct it? Don't let it go wrong in the first place.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense? So I've prevented him so when he first saw Ash, he lunged at him and he was off.
Yeah.
Whereas that time, with a couple of little tugs, he's had the self-control to not go, because he knows he's not going to get away with it. And that's a little tick in my box. Now, that's not him fixed.
No.
We're going to have to do that dozens and dozens, hundreds of times, whatever. But if we keep doing that, then his drive to go and lunge when he's on a line, or when he's asked to sit and stay and things, will be diminished, and he'll start to understand self-control and that you're in charge and he can only go when you've told him, etc. That's going to happen over 6 months of training, not immediately, but that's the start of it. Is just little wins like that. Lots of little wins will turn into long-term control and long-term gain.
So when I go out a walk with him around the estate, should I be putting him on the slip lead and doing the heel work, and then giving him a little bit free time on the longer
Yeah, so
line?
he's got a short attention span.
Yeah.
So he can't walk from here to the bottom of my drive on the lead at heel.
No.
It's just, his brother can't, his sisters can't, like none of them can.
Yeah.
It's just beyond them.
Yeah.
But what they can do is zigzag between these cars, maybe walk to that big oak tree, and then they get off, they have a little chase around the lawn, and then they do the same thing again on the lead, and then they get off, they have a little chase down to there, do a retrieve maybe, then they do another bit of heel work, and that whole thing is 15, 20 minutes, but it's a few minutes on the lead, a few minutes off the lead, a few minutes on the lead, a few minutes off the lead. And say you can master a minute on the lead at heel, then tomorrow go for a minute 10.
Right.
And then next week it's a minute 30. In a few weeks' time, it's 2 or 3 minutes. You're just building it up gradually. You're not kind of going, oh, but I want to go from my house to the park.
Yes.
I'm going to walk him at loose lead. It's just not loose lead all the way there. It's not going to work. Shh, shh, shh. And that's just impatience. He's like, this is shit.
Yeah.
I want to be running around. I want to be getting treats. I want to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
And he just has to learn sometimes that's not. So even just stopping on the middle of your walk and just making him sit and wait patiently, because this is something people don't do at all, because they're always like, oh, I'm going out training, so I need to be doing something.
Yeah.
A lot of training for a dog is not doing anything. It's that kind of like, mum will say when we're doing something, and in the meantime I've got to be patient. It's, kids, sit in the back of the car, be quiet, daddy's on the phone, mummy's talking to a friend, we've got things going on, you just have to, I'm bored, I want to go, when are we there? Meh. The hard bit is getting them to sit and do nothing. Getting them to run down the drive after the car, that's easy. They'll all do that all day long. But getting them to sit in the back of the car or sit on the park bench and wait for something to happen, or the patience bit is the hard thing for the dogs and for the kids. It's the same deal. So remember on your walk, your whole 15-minute walk training, they're not going for walks, they're going training.
Yeah.
Your whole 15 minutes out with him.
Sometimes we kind of just sit there and he just watches the cars going by, turning into the estate, and then we just kind of walk on a bit again.
Yeah, and that's great. And just actively think about doing more of that, and actively think about making him do it for longer. Yeah. So look, he's now seen the robot mower.
Oh, yeah.
And he's suddenly, so this is the sort of thing Ash and me and everyone does instinctively. The moment he pricked his ears up, I saw what he was looking at, and that's what he's doing. So I'm ready for a reaction. Now it's going down the hill, so it's fine, but I'm ready to react, okay? I'm not like, oh yeah, he's fine. Oh, I didn't know the mower was, I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know because I'm not paying attention. Does that make sense? Absolutely. So as you're walking along and he goes, ears pricked up, there's a squirrel just run up a tree. Right, we're on it. Or ideally, you see the squirrel running up the tree and then you look at him and wait for him to see it. And the moment he goes clock, you go, no, leave it, it's not for you. And then he's like, how the hell do you know that, Mum? It's because I'm Mum and I bloody know everything, And that's what that's the perception you've got to give to him, is that kind of, you've seen it in advance, you know how he's going to react, therefore you're prepared, you're ready to deal with it. So I know the mower's gone down there, the chances are it's probably going to come back up here in a minute. I'm ready, it's gone out of sight. He has no idea what that is. No. He has no idea if it's coming back, but I do. So I might even go towards it, position myself ready, so when it comes over the brow of the hill and he's like, what's that? Nothing to do with you. That's the simple answer. Nothing to do with you. And he's like, oh, right, isn't it? And then he sees it again tomorrow, nothing to do with you. Sees it again the next day, and then he's like, oh, yeah, it's that bloody thing that's nothing to do with me. And that's kind of what I want him to, how I want him to be over a period of time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
But to get there, we've got to be planning ahead and seeing all these things happening before they happen. You know, a common thing on a day like today is with little spaniels is leaves blowing around.
That's a big thing.
Oh, it's a leaf. Well, so when we go out, we've got to know that it's going to be much harder for the next 2-3 weeks to train him to do stuff than it will be in another month, because one, he'll be more mature, but mainly because at the moment there's just bloody leaves everywhere.
Yeah.
And on a windy day, it's going to be harder than on a not wind, on a still day.
Yeah.
So if you've got that preset in your mind before you even start, you're already ahead of the game. Rather than going, oh, I had a really difficult day with him today. Why? Oh, I was chasing leaves. What, was it windy? Yeah. Well, you kind of knew that before you started, didn't you? So, or you should have done. So that's kind of, you're always trying to think 10 steps ahead. You're always prepared for what might go wrong, and then it won't go wrong, because you know, he might chase the lawnmower, he might be excited by it, he might get his toes cut off. So we're just going to stop that happening by being ahead of the game.
Yes.
So that's kind of, at the moment, like, that's it. Keep it simple. You're doing some basic heel work, which you're already doing. Your body language is great for that. So keep that body language going. Just be more consistent about when he's meant to be doing it and when he's not meant to be doing it. Have a clear change in kind of.
That'll be a big help.
So almost think of like, almost think of it as like that's his seatbelt.
Yes.
And that's the seatbelt off at the moment,
Yeah.
with the view that this is sort of background noise for me, and that'll come off, another month or so. This, certainly when he grows out of this, don't go and buy him another one.
Right.
Or I'll never speak to you again. But this is kind of like, this is a necessity at the moment, but this is not something you want to have longer term.
Right.
Longer term, it's you and your slip lead and the dog, and he's so good that he doesn't need his training line anymore. But at the moment, this is to prevent him getting run over or getting, getting himself in a tangle with another dog or something. Okay,
Yeah.
but this isn't a kind of long-term thing. And actually, one of the things we talk to try and explain to people all the time is even with our dogs, the lead is not a long-term thing. The lead is a temporary thing and a security thing, but ultimately you want to be going for a walk up the Pentlands. You want to open the back of your car, park at the bottom of the Pentlands, open your car, tell him to come out, he comes into heel, you walk up the path, and then when you get into some open space, he runs around, he comes back when he's called. If you need him to walk to heel, you say heel, none of which is on the lead. And the only time you have him on the lead is because you're walking along the street near traffic, and that's just a sensible option.
Yes.
To prevent him in the very, very unusual occasion that, your very well-behaved dog that you've worked so hard with in a year or two's time, it's just a preventative thing. We just pop them on a lead because we're near a road, or we pop them on the lead because we're in the vet. We pop them on the lead because we're in a cafe, because that's just kind of protocol and manners. But ultimately, the lead is not really a part of his life.
Yeah.
Like his dad and in fact his mum as well, like they're never on a lead. They haven't been on a lead for years.
Yeah.
But if I was going to walk them through the middle of Edinburgh, I'd just probably pop them on a lead just for sort of for their own safety and peace of mind, just in case something went wrong. Hey?
I look forward to those days.
Oh yes, you're a nice little chap, aren't you? Nice little guy. Yeah. Okay.
Lovely.
Perfect. So it's a little introduction lesson with Harris now. Every time someone gets a dog from us, a puppy, they get a free lesson. And the reason we give them a free lesson is we kind of want them to have a really nice dog. We want all of our dogs to be lovely dogs. So they get a free lesson. Hopefully they'll come back for some more, which won't necessarily be free, but we like them to come back for that initial lesson, because they're doing some great things, but there's also some things that are going to need, that just need a little bit of fine tuning. And hopefully you could see Susan really clicking into kind of the way I explain some of the things, and she's going to hopefully go home and put them into practice. It's all about usual. You get out what you put in, and we'll see you all next time.